think, let's return the favor. What are we getting out of these conversations with the opposite sex? Your friendships. What is it that they give to you? That maybe potentially the men don't usually do. What is it that you're potentially getting out of those relationships?
I think oftentimes the women tend to be a bit more sometimes introspective in terms of the situation. So they might be looking more into, how did you feel about that when he said this to you? Why did you react this particular way and things like that? Um, but then again, I really agree with what Winter was saying that, it's a bit difficult to kind of carpet the whole thing based on gender because sometimes it depends on who exactly the person is. Some people are very reactive. Like the other person was saying, if you go and tell your girlfriend that, this guy did whatever, whatever, they're not going to start asking you, so how did you feel? So what? They might just be like, let's go blow out his tires or whatever. They might just react that way. So sometimes it's not necessarily just a male and female kind of thing. It just kind of depends on how the relationship with you have. For example, if it's a guy who knows that you're a woman who likes to go on and on about how you feel, he might start asking you all those questions about, so how did you feel, being more introspective because he knows that's what you want to hear, because he knows that that's how you like to communicate. So it depends on that level of understanding and intimacy that you guys have in your relationship that determines. But on a general note, I would say women tend to be a bit more emotionally introspective in the situation. They might be like, don't react that way because if you react this way, that might lead to that person reacting this way. But when I want to talk to a woman about woman related issues or an issue that has to do with a woman, most likely I will go to a woman or go to my wife. But if it's something that is just general and I want some logical or technical point of view, I might just go and ask a guy, just give me that point of view.
Okay, cool. Appreciate it. Sean, you wanted to add some insight. Thank you, David. You wanted to add some insight to this. Talk to me.
Yeah, I think that what I learned a little early on in some of my close friendships with my good brothers was that it took vulnerability to start the conversation. But once I started the conversation with some of my brothers about whatever it might have been, a struggle or stress, it opened the door and they was like, yeah, me too. And, we really had great dialogue and were able to just kind of like chop it up and have those conversations, which I might have had a preconceived notion of like, oh, he's not going to want to talk about that, or they might look at me weird if I start talking about what, I might have anxiety or stress about. But, truth be told, I think for the close inner circle, like when we get together and have conversations, the banter might be different than women, but a lot of times when we start chopping it up, we'd be like, yeah, bro, I had that same experience, and we'll talk about stuff but it takes like that vulnerability, right? It takes just somebody opening up the door to have the conversation and another dude just be like, bro, me too, So I think I've had a lot of great discussions that way, and it's been surprising. I can concur with what a lot of the ladies shared. Is like, men were not going to do a whole lot of hand holding, right? We might suggest or say like, oh, this is what I did, or say, hey, listen, this is what I went through, but it's not going to be, let me give you a hug and let's talk it out. But I don't think that's always needed. Like, I think just sometimes just having the conversation, being able to see like, oh, we went through this too and I'm not by myself. But on the other hand, I think the good aspects, in talking with women, they are very quick to nurture you if you have a sadness. So, if there was a struggle you got to, they will kind of make you feel comfortable and I don't know if special is the right word, but they're definitely catering, right? Most of the good women that I have interacted with, when I share something that I went through, there was a level of concern, a level of care, which is very different than what I would get from a man, obviously, and it's something very welcoming and warming, about that. So I think, yeah, there definitely are benefits, and there's times when You may run one situation through your boys, and then you'll run it through, a good friend that's a woman that just because you need that extra little bit of support and nurturing through it. Sometimes we might have a little, we might want to, see where else we can go with the sympathy, but that's the topic for another
day. Not you blowing up the bass. Black, talk to me, bro. Intimate opposite sex. What are they bringing to the table in these conversations, in these intimate moments? What's going on?
Yeah, so for me, I do think that it's a responsibility of mine. I won't say necessarily a responsibility of other men, but it's responsibility of mine to be emotionally flexible. And I got this way by growing up with three older brothers, right? What I learned was that I can't talk to each one of my brothers about the same topics. If I wanted to talk to one of my brothers about girls, I have to talk to him. If I want to talk to another one about fighting, I'll talk to them. So it's the same thing with just life in general. So even with women, there are certain women I won't talk to about relationships because I know a little bit of their background, I know a little bit of who they are, and I just wouldn't trust that conversation with them. But there are others who I would. So it's a pick and choose type situation, and I think we all kind of do that in a sense. You know who to steer certain conversations away from, and I've had to become good at that over the years. So yeah, for me, I can have the conversations about emotional connection with some women, and some I won't have that conversation with. So yeah, just knowing that.
Okay. All right, I'm loving it. Cool. All right, let's get tasty. Okay, let's get tasty with this conversation now, because it's intimacy without sex. But I'm gonna ask the question inverted.